What's your take on, have you heard of black helicopters?
Yep. I filmed them.
Okay. Could you elaborate, please?
Well, the one that I filmed, I have a picture of a helicopter pilot's site. They can't understand it because it's been modified in such a way that it should not be able to get off the ground.
The helicopter.
Yep.
San Luis Valley, back to Colorado, where the cattle mutilations occurred. That's a hotbed for black helicopters.
And that's the police believe it's the black helicopters doing the mutilations.
You think it's somebody in those black helicopters?
Right.
Now the question is, are they government or are they aliens
No,
manifesting? Are they aliens manifesting themselves as black helicopters?
I don't know who they are, but they're not government. Why would they go around doing that?
Right, because they could have their own little farms and experiment on their animals to their heart's content.
Right.
So that would leave up an option. And Chris O'Brien, I made this inference to him. He's a researcher in the San Luis Valley. What if the UFOs could manifest themselves as black helicopters? Let's just say, if an incident...
That's it. See, now you're going to do a totally different area.
Oh, let's go. We're there.
I've got a picture that I took in daylight. I looked up, I was out in my area, and I'm with a friend, and I look up, and I saw a plane and a helicopter flying side by side.
Was the plane a C-130, had 4 engines on it? What type of plane was it?
Just a plane on a helicopter.
Okay.
And those two attracted my attention. And I got a Polaroid camera. I snapped the plane and the helicopter. You don't see planes and helicopters flying side by side. I snapped the picture. And I got a disc and a flying barrel.
Wow.
Along with a plane and a helicopter. So lately, over the years, also I have a friend who filmed a carrier letting off, looked like small planes, like the old planes, like World War I planes. So I think something like 8 of them came out of the carrier.
And they looked like almost like world was biplanes.
All planes.
Interesting.
And so, and then
UFO.
also, yeah, and then also we had here what we call the crazy plane.
What's that?
It looks like a plane.
Okay. And
it will do things like it'll come right straight down from
here,
the
I mean
sky.
southern New Hampshire.
Yeah, roaring, worse than 10 jets. Come right straight down, pointed at the ground, stop about 20 feet, flatten off, up, and take off.
Do you think that's an alien craft or?
I know it is.
Okay, sure. So
they're beginning to disguise themselves.
That's okay. So
They're beginning to look like things that were familiar to us.
Right.
So that they can get in closer.
A good Chris O'Brien story was he had investigated this strange helicopter encounter of a family in Colorado, saw this strange yellow helicopter. And it's so expansive to travel in that helicopter, you wouldn't have enough fuel to go to the next depot. And so he's driving home and he's typing it up on his typewriter the next morning, and he looks up and he sees the same yellow helicopter 13 years later, the way they describe. Now, I want to get back to special operations groups. I mentioned them earlier. They emanate out of Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque. They're trained there. They're dispatched, or I call them their nest, is at Eglin, Hurlburt Field. Black helicopters are shiny or flat black helicopters that are not registered with the FAA. They don't have any military numbers or markings, so they don't exist. You can fly at any altitude, anywhere you want. They also are accompanied by 4-engine planes called C-130s. They can be, the way I look at it is, it's the United States of America's way to check into the terrorist game unannounced. You fight terrorism sometimes, unfortunately, with terrorism. These are surgical teams that can get into an area, perform whatever duty they have to do with electrical intelligence or psyops against the enemy, and leave. So now for the aliens to manifest themselves, you have UFO sightings, and these special operations groups would show up later. So now it seems that the aliens may be, or so I've heard, manifesting themselves as these black helicopters, almost in a mocking manner. What do you think of that? To the point that here's your secret group, and okay, yeah, the UFOs come in and manifest themselves as black helicopters, because you're inferring that these UFOs have the capacity to manifest themselves as some of our sensitive aircraft. Is that correct?
I don't know. I do know this. I've talked with military. Oh, no, in war times, we used black helicopters. Mm-hmm. Now, after Vietnam, all the helicopters came back, and they were repainted to go to the different branches of government, the military that they've been assigned to. And there were no black helicopters. But I assume we probably had them when we attacked Iraq.
So in other words, black helicopters are great to have. They're great instead of scrambling fighters to investigate UFOs. You can get a chopper up out of anywhere, get it to the area, investigate. They're usually a few days late or a few hours late anyways, and leave. But that you've seen you've heard of odd terrestrial aircraft that you and I know as terrestrial aircraft behaving in strange manners. Like you said, that this woman who saw this UFO releasing circa World War I vintage aircraft.
Yep.
It's a new phenomenon.
And she actually got some real good pictures of one of them, because one of the small planes flew right down towards her.
And it looked just like.
And you could see the two heads. You know, it had like the canopy, like the old planes had. And you could see the head, because you couldn't see the features or anything.
Do you believe that there?
And this was filmed in daylight.
Richard Hoagland, former NASA advisor, talks about the monuments on Mars, talks about structures on the moon. What's your take on that? Do you believe that there's ancient monoliths or structures on the moon? Are the aliens using that as a staging ground? What's your opinion on that? Richard Hoagland tends to.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have any opinion yet on Mars.
Okay, on the face on
I
Mars.
think life could have existed on Mars.
But you do.
I think, I've read books, scientists, years and years ago, how when the planet Venus came in to our area, it went too close to Mars and flipped it over and wiped life out there.
Do you think the asteroid belt was a planet that exploded?
Could have been.
Okay.
I don't know.
Do you think the astronauts encountered UFOs on their Apollo flights, their Geminis, their Mercuries, their space shuttle launches? We've seen the videos coming out. We've heard the fourth and fifth hand stories.
Well, I know Gordon Cooper filmed a UFO, a landed one, in Edwards Air Force Base.
Right, 1955.
Because he was here last year.
Oh, Gordon was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Now, when he's coming out and speaking, saying that he had an encounter. Edgar Mitchell is another one that.
I've done TV programs with him.
So you have two esteemed astronauts, and I believe was it Mitchell that brought in Apollo 13? He steered it manually, which I thought was,
No.
Mitchell. I think Mitchell's craft, or was it one of the astronauts there? That we just Cooper. I think it might have been Cooper that actually steered his craft in, which was one of the greatest single-handed manual re-entries in the history of space.
I know it was Apollo
exploration.
13.
Right, but
which is an unlucky number for them.
so you've got these astronauts saying that they encountered UFOs, and they've seen them, which means that we are being monitored. Our launches are being monitored.
Which also means the government is loosening their security
Right. Well,
on secret information.
exactly, but when it becomes so compartmentalized that you don't know what the person next to you is doing, and they don't either, that it's bound to slip out. But if you break up the pieces of the puzzle and disperse them, it'll be harder for somebody to put together the pieces. But every once in a while, you link a few pieces, and there's a picture of what is actually happening. So there is a possibility then that these UFOs are monitoring our space flights. You agree with that?
Oh, I would assume they would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you see do you see us going out into outer space or living in space at some time, colonized in space station, or
Maybe in a million years or so.
it's just too far to comprehend?
Right. It's way beyond our abilities at this time.
A number of global Mars surveyor craft we've lost. We just lost contact with another one. Do you think that that's just because we're building toys like Fisher-Price? Or do you think that they're being taken out by, as some people say, the great galactic ghoul or some sort of alien presence? Do you think that we're getting too close to Mars in a certain area that we're not supposed to see and they're being taken out?
Well, they seem to publicly announce why it failed. It was a mixture of something like measurements and the metric system.
That's 4 out of 5 probes we've lost.
I don't know.
So it's hard to speculate at this
I mean,
time.
well, I don't know. I can't imagine UFOs attacking them. They aren't that important.
If these are our, do you think these aliens are our future? Say 25,000 years. Do you believe that they come from another system, obviously, or do you think that perhaps they're coming back in time and visiting themselves back? I'm striking all areas here that I've read about.
I think in time this world is going to be one world.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't bother with passports. We'll just travel anywhere we want to, and it'll belong to the people.
One race, the human race.
Right. And then, when we progress to that point, then we can start thinking about going to other worlds. But we got to learn to get along with each other here first before we go anyplace else.
That's right. Before we look to the heavens and decide what is right for the cosmos, let's settle our differences here on our own little mud ball.
Right.
Right. Well, Betty Hill, I want to thank you for taking the time to speaking here with me here. Fascinating interview, inviting me into your home. Betty Hill's new book, A Common Sense Approach to UFOs. Again, Betty has the book here. We want to mention how they can acquire the book one more time.
The price of the book is $15.95, and usually it depends on where they live, but usually I send it priority mail, which is $3. And the address is 953 State Street, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, 03801.
You got it. Live it, learn it, read it. Betty Hill, thank you very much for being our guest here tonight.
Okay. And now you can sign my. You can sign my guest book. And I gotta.
You are.
Oh, here's the. Oh, yeah. Here's. I love this.
Hold them up to the camera if you'd like.
These are some pictures.
I've got the camera running still if you'd like to hold them up.
Oh, I gotta go take a trip first. Here's a flying trash can.
The flying trash can. Let's hold
Who was it? One of the astronauts saw it.
towards you, Betty. Yeah, that would be great. A flying trash can. Yeah, hold it right towards you.
Okay. I call it a flying trash can, but one of the astronauts saw the same shape out in space, and he called it a flying beer can.
Oh, okay. So, what else do you have there?
Oh, there's another. This is a disc. This little attachment here is a remote-controlled object, which they toss out and it flies around by itself. I don't know, it could be a listening device, something like that. And there's 7. And that's a very common pattern for them to fly in. I don't know if you can get these or not.
Sure, yeah. Great. They look okay. That's a very common.
Yeah, a very common pattern for flight. And then, oh, this one's huge.
Is that the outline of a craft?
This is the front, the lighted front. And I would say this one is about a quarter of a mile wide.
Wow.
And then this one, this is a disc, lighted along the edges.
Mm-hmm. And these were all taken in this area?
Yep.
In your hotspot?
Yep.
That we never got you to disclose. All we know is southern New Hampshire. New Hampshire has an entire litany of UFO sightings.
Now, well, let me show you
what are
these.
These glows, yeah.
These are very interesting. These are all my copies of my pictures.
Mm-hmm.
If you're too close to a UFO, this is what it does to your camera. You can't take a picture of it.
Wow.
You get all these lights. I mean, I assume this is different kinds of energies if we only knew how to analyze them.
And these were outdoors taken?
These were taken right to my front steps here.
And this
The UFO was coming up the street.
It was right up your street? Now, how long ago was this?
Oh, I don't know. I always think of everything in the 70s. See?
Wow.
Oh, this picture is very poor. Anyway, the craft came up the street. I'm standing on the front steps. And then when it went over the roof of the buildings across the street, and I filmed it. But this is a very poor picture of it. Anyway, it was a circular craft, round like a ball. And they had windows that were lighted. You could, almost impossible to see them there, I think. Yep. And then this here, UFOs quite often come in on beams.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come in, they might have 2 or 3 beams come in, and then as the crafts come in, then the beams disappear. That's this is, actually this one here, this is bright red. That's the way the pictures were duplicated. Here's a remote controlled object. And this one is bigger, it's a perfectly round ball, and it's bigger than the full moon. Oh, that's some more from the too close. Yep. So, okay?
That's fascinating. That was great. Thank you very much, Betty. Appreciate it. And good luck with your new book. It's great. That's your first book, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I've written several articles.
But the first book.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Betty.
You're welcome.
That was great. Thank you.
God, that's the longest I've gone without
I
a
know,
cigarette in
yeah.
years.
I'm sorry. You are a champion as far as covering the phenomena. Let me tell you, you are so refreshing. Just some of your answers, and I like the way you suck.
I never found any strange men in my bedroom.
You sock it to the other researchers, and you dispel a lot of myths. And
You owe me a copy of that tape.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. That was fantastic.
Ah.
That was great, Betty. And thank you for your patience. I really appreciate it. It's a great. See, my theory about them manifesting as helicopters, I mean, when I tell people that, you know, and I know special operations like the back of my hand, and there's some groups that special operations don't know, and they look like special operations, so,
That's right.
that's atypical.
I'm the one that took this picture here.
Now you know.